I think we will get into the panel now. We will postpone the questions about Canberra and other general topics to the end so that we can cover other areas and you guys can ask the questions together. So why don't we have a small introduction for, each one of you can introduce your company a couple of minutes and then we'll get into some of the questions, interesting questions.
Hi guys. I used to think that a session after lunch is a painful session for the speakers, but looks like 5 o'clock session is even more difficult. You guys had a very long day. Quick introduction, I'm Milind Borate. I co-founded Druva in 2008 with 2 other founders. We are into laptop backup. We started with just the licensed model. So sell the license, get the money, the customer installs the software at his end, and we just get money and kind of come out of the thing, right? And we launched our cloud offering, so same product or same set of features or same functionality, but on cloud. We launched it about a couple of years back. We work off Amazon, AWS. Most of our market is US and Europe and somewhat in India. To speak about cloud, I'll probably just leave it out to you guys to ask questions. What kind of questions you have about cloud? I think that would be a lot more interesting stuff to discuss than I talking about exactly what kind of challenges we faced. So I'll keep that for later. Yeah, probably pass on to.
Hi, my name is Rudhir Sharan and I'm founder of SecPanel. We are a very young startup. We're trying to solve the problem of a few million servers on the net for the security problem. So it's an anti-hacking software for Linux servers. We started building it last year early, and we have a few hundred customers. Our main target market is small, medium businesses who use hosting companies like Rackspace or Amazon, and they use SecPanel as a layer above it. So we have a few new vulnerability mitigation techniques that we've used, and we've tried to also file patents for that. And we're a small team, and that's it.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, my name is Siddharth. I'm founder of Shepherds. We are a product company in the PaaS field, which is platform as a service. We are a cloud provider for app developers. Our endeavor is to make app developers successful. All our products are aligned to make app developers successful. Our product line is basically based on 2 main tenets. One is that we are technology agnostic, meaning we support almost all popular technologies, starting from Android to iOS to Windows 7, to Ruby on Rails, PHP, Java, C#, so on and so forth. Another is that we have taken an approach of ecosystem. We consider ourselves as an ecosystem provider of cloud. What it means is that if I can take an analogy, what does a shopping mall do to a shopkeeper? The shopping mall gives them the basic infrastructure, gives them lots of services, fixtures, administration, a common area, and footfall. And that's why a shopkeeper goes to a shopping mall. We do the same thing to an app developer, be it a mobile, web, social, or a television app. You will soon see a lot of apps on television also in future. So there are multiple products starting from Cloud App42 Cloud APIs. Everything is based on a platform called App42. Everything has been indigenously developed by us. Our office is in Delhi. The first product is App42 Cloud, which allows you around 300 plus APIs, which enable you to develop an app very fast. So the technology in terms is called backend as a service, where you get APIs for business services like, let's say, e-commerce, for gaming, for even technical services like storage, notification, queuing, the list goes on. There are around 300 plus APIs. Each of these APIs have SDKs in 9 languages, which I mentioned earlier. Then we have another product which came out of a hackathon. We had a hackathon yesterday with TAI here in IIT. Through one of the hackathons, when the requirement came that there are a lot of gaming developers in India and they want to develop multiplayer games. To develop a multiplayer game, the backend has to be developed which passes the game information. So we came up with a product called AppWarp, which is a massive multiplayer gaming engine which allows you to develop a gaming engine on the cloud. You don't have to take care of the backend. The third product is, we call it AppClay, which is for developers who don't have development experience. Why we call them developers who don't have development experience is because if you want to develop an app, even if you don't have knowledge, you are a developer. So we have a product called AppClay. As the name suggests, Clay, you can use our wizards to create a mobile app on the fly. It will take you 15 minutes to develop an app if you have all the images with you. So it's more like a PowerPoint type of application, which allows you, because it uses our own SDKs, which have all the business logic. We have just created a wizard over that. Third product is, as I said, our endeavor is to become an ecosystem provider and solve all problems which app developers have. So if app developers have deployed it on our cloud platform, they would require to manage that project. Today, apps are going, and people are putting apps on various type of app stores. There are device app stores like Apple. There are operator app stores like App Central from Airtel and Pocket Apps from Aircel. And then there are off-deck app stores like GetJar. So you are getting money through so many app stores. How will you manage that revenue? How will you manage your requirements? So we provide tools for that. We provide tools for issue tracking. Soon we are launching a product where you can on the fly get a virtual machine. We've been bootstrapping for 2 years. We bootstrapped through service. I heard a lot of discussion earlier on some serious and some on a funny note when a lot of investors were there. Our experience had been we have not put funding in front. It's like putting the cart in front of the horse. We always thought that first let's make a world-class product. Bootstrap, however, it is possible. 2.5 years we have been bootstrapping, and now we are in a stage where it has become reverse that we are getting funding. So it has been quite a journey. We have gone to the market using 2 things. One is through digital marketing, and other is through alliances, because alliances help us to piggyback on their existing market and go ahead.
So one interesting thing about the 3 companies here is that they are all addressing global market. They are not focusing only on India. So I would like to ask you guys, being based here in India and, on especially in such a technology intensive areas, how are you guys basically competing with the world where, there is competing talent and I'm sure there are competing products. So could you guys just, give an overview of how you are able to successfully acquire customers and fend off competition? In your product case, I've seen several other products that kind of do similar things, and I'm sure you guys have similar competition. So maybe talk a little bit about the competition and how do you, being here, are able to compete in the global market. I think that's a very interesting point.
So I would say the technology or cloud, right, it has made it easier for anybody. I mean, you don't need to be in US or Silicon Valley to start up now. Coming back, right, I mean, the global talent and local talent, I mean, if you really look at it, we have the best software talent in India. And if you really look at the Silicon Valley or the Bay Area, most of the startups there are founded by Indians, right? So it's not really a question of talent when it comes to the product development part of it. In our case, at least what we felt was kind of lacking. We kind of found that kind of talent was not available in India. That was primarily the marketing talent. And for purely that purposes, we had to kind of have a office or have a subsidiary of Druva India in US. And that's one talent that we found we had to go to the Bay Area to find that kind of talent. But otherwise, in my opinion, the cloud or Google, it has actually helped startups to kind of come up from any part of the world rather than being from just the Bay Area.
Thanks. So the problem we're trying to solve, that has probably become aggravated over the last few years. I've been involved with the hosting industry for a long time, since the late 90s. So I had a little bit of pulse on finger on that pulse. Over the last few years, since cloud computing as an infrastructure as a service and platform as a service has become more rampant, users have become, as users have started using low ticket servers. So this problem has become bigger. So we are actually the first to try to address it in the way we're doing it. In that manner, SecPanel is a unique product globally. So in that context, when you talk about competing, it becomes easier after you've done the initial customer education. Of course, there are other people who are trying to solve the problem. There's people like Cloud Passage and other. But, the first few customers took a little while. And once we had, that kind of validation and we go to there, it's easier. I think that especially the market that we are targeting, the US, it's a more skin agnostic market, as in they look at you as what you offer. So, so I think it's that. If you bring in value from wherever you are, it's quite open. So that's what our experience has been. Probably because, we're doing some new work on areas. So maybe, and also it's early times, but this is what my experience is.
Yeah, for us, that is one thing which is, going, because we are a global product, our main market is in North America. Yeah, our market is in India because we are based in India. In India, if you take the app world, 85% of the apps which get downloaded are free. There are hardly any apps which people buy, right? So you need developers who will pay. The decision-making power for app developers is not there. Many people work in service companies, so they don't make the decision that whether we will take this cloud provider or not. So, so for us, North America is very important for our success. The way we have approached it is, and especially when we have a product line where we compete on different products, we compete different companies, and some of them are like the big fives of the world. Is we have taken an alliance approach. We thought instead of we going, of course, digital marketing and all we are taking in, but if we go with an alliance in the market, we can piggyback on the alliance's existing credibility, and if they propose to us in the market, our credibility also flows with them. That has been very important. There are other reasons also which we have to take care, especially when you're a cloud provider. There are laws, especially in the US, where the data which resides has to be in the same in US itself because of patriotic law and patriot law and so on and so forth. So for us, it was not just a choice, but it was something which we had to do. The next step which we are taking is we are opening up our office there so that there is a person who will be able to go and do evangelism in various cloud forums and mobile forums.
So let's talk about your revenue models. It's I think you guys all have a unique solution, but what is your revenue model? How does that help you reduce the barrier for you to sell?
So as I said right earlier, we used to sell a licensed product. So customers would buy the license from us and just install the software on their own servers. And it's an interesting discussion about how the business model changes or how your revenue model changes depending on whether you're selling a cloud solution or a license solution. So with a license solution, your costs are primarily the product development costs and then sales and marketing, the cost of sale. With cloud, especially if the services like infrastructure intensive, right? And in our case, it's like more cloud storage. So in that case, the infra costs are fairly high, as in the amount of money that you need to actually store that data on some storage. That's fairly high. So the revenue model changes a lot. You have to think about reducing the cost of sale and reducing the cost of product development. When you're talking about cloud business, the margins are fairly low. Right. Having said that, the other place where cloud really helps you, and Piyush actually talked about it when he was kind of introducing you to the topic, is you don't have to invest in the infrastructure from day one. You just don't have to invest in the infrastructure. You can just build a product, put it out there on Amazon or Rackspace, right? And there's like infinite scalability. As your customers increase, as the load on your system grow, you can just keep on adding more servers, you can keep on adding more storage, and you kind of get that infinite scalability without having to do that initial investment. So that's a big plus when it comes to having a SaaS kind of a product.
Hello. So our revenue model is pay as you go, as in customers pay for a sec panel on a monthly basis. Actually, it's early time for us. We just went to the market about maybe a few weeks back. And initially, our beta customers used to pay us a lot more than our pricing model is. And that's a kind of a learning and a figuring out process that we're going under. For example, small example, a customer who was taking a Rackspace server for, let's say, $200 was paying us $130 for doing that. But I think we realized that, we're going to lower that and go monthly, but, so we just try in that figuring out model in that context. So that's what it is. On the part of, it does, there is an infrastructure cost. So we basically, we built a lot of our product at a very small computing footprint. So for us, a per customer cost is extremely low. It's very, very, very low. So that's one way of, addressing that issue that you mentioned.
For us, pricing is one of the most important factors. Though we ourselves are focused on technology, but something which we want to offer to the person is not a low price, but a way in which we offer the service, the price becomes lower. For example, guys here who are entrepreneurs are trying to develop a web app or a mobile app. If you have a backend, you will require at least one server. And today, if you go to any of these cloud providers, just to get a single CPU, 2 gigabyte machine, which might be less than even your laptop or your mobile, it will cost you close to around $100 a month. For you, while you're testing your app, you have not even gone to the market, you're not even gone to your beta, you will require at least 2-3 servers, you'll require a database service, and you're spending a few thousand rupees a month or a few hundreds of dollars a month, even before you're making revenue. Our intention was to reduce this development cost for the person who is not making that much money at that time when he's trying to. If you see the pyramid of developers, out of those millions of apps, every app is not an Angry Bird. But every other app, but all the 99% of the other apps which are not making too much money have to pay heavy cloud prices, and it's not so cheap if one tries to actually use it. So we started, we are actually in beta at this stage, and we are free for now, but we have come up with a pricing plan which will start from just $10 and it will go as high as $3,000. So it will depend upon the kind of resources which we use. Why we could do that? Because we have bought those resources in volumes, and that discount we want to pass it on to you. For example, there are thresholds. If 100 terabyte data is used, like in Piyush's case, the per gigabyte price falls down with most of the cloud providers. We can pass it on to you guys, and that's why the pricing is very important. It is very. But we don't want to do this type of business that every person joins, it is a loss to the company, right? There are many companies, there are many examples, especially in the e-commerce world, that everything you buy, you are actually creating loss to the company. So we want to make profit from day one.
So, what are some of your key achievements and challenges that you have experienced in your companies so far? I think that will be an interesting thing to share with the audience.
I would say we solved some customer problem. In my opinion, that's like the biggest achievement, and the proof essentially lies in the pudding. When you see customers who kind of buy the product, who like the product, come back to you and say that, yes, this really helped us. This is a great product. Thank you. Right? That's the biggest achievement in my opinion. But to kind of just put it in numbers, we have about 1,500 customers all over the world. Primarily the license-based customers so far, but the cloud customer or that revenue is growing. We are like around 25% of our revenue coming from the cloud customers now. So that's where we stand today.
So our journey mostly has been product development. Though of course we had some very early validation, as in customers who signed up for a beta were very, very open to giving us video testimonials and all. So that was very, very encouraging, especially we were only about 6 months old then. But in terms of development, we were really happy that sitting out there and those questions that you asked earlier about how easy is it to get talent here. So we thought we were very happy about having mitigation for some really nice attacks on Apache like LDOS and all, which are global issues, problems for all servers. And sitting out there, we could do that. So that was very nice. In terms of challenges, one of the challenges that I always faced rather, at least in the initial part, was to create a business model when you haven't figured out. So we spent about 3 months figuring out how to sell. And before that was a challenge, because somebody would say, make out a spreadsheet. And I would say, it's like a video game. How do I know, make a spreadsheet of that after I'm 8 months into that? So, but we figured that out. We figured out how to go to the market now. So to some extent, but it's very, very early for us to, talk about things like this. Yeah.
While we were bootstrapping, we were developing this IP, we started also to talk with certain data centers in India and infrastructure providers in India. At a very early stage, we could sell a part of our product on license to one of the largest data centers in India. So that was a big confidence booster for us, because in the infrastructure game, the reliability of the product is very important. Like I said, if you are a shopping mall, if the shopping mall goes down, the shops also go down. So that made us quite confident that whatever we have done is now ready for prime time. Other challenge for us, which is one of the biggest challenges, that we are a product line company, so we have multiple products. So when you have so many products, how to position which product to be put in the market? There are 4 or 5 products. Should we come up with all 5 products at one point of time? Should we focus on one? Is it a positioning issue? Are the customer base same? The profile of customer is different for most products. So figuring out what has to be put in the market. And finally, we have a great, because it's a very computer engineering and algorithmic-centric product line, right? So you need people who have long experience in terms of programming. And in India, it's difficult because everybody wants to become a team leader or a manager and stop coding, right? So to find people who are interested to code, even if they have been experienced, from junior to senior, it was a big problem. As in our case, our senior team was very good. The freshers were very good, but to bring the middle line, which will where some work can be delegated to the middle line, that's a big challenge here.
So I think I'll open it up to audience for any questions to the panel.
Hi, I'm Sudarshan. I'm currently setting up a social media-based recruitment business. Awesome panel in terms of somebody in infrastructure, somebody in PaaS, somebody who's providing a service, and something in security. So my question is with respect to costing. So when I'm sitting here and like you said, you figured things out, we're putting together a cost, right? So today I know AWS or say Shepherds or one of you have a specific price point per month for your initial platform. I have no way, as a provider, I'm going to be charging a certain amount of money that I think I'm going to charge my customers. So while I'm building that Excel sheet in terms of growth, I'm not quite sure what's my size going to be on the server side, or what's my capacity going to be. As a result, what's my cost going to be, right? But on the price side, I may have to provide a fixed fee. So for you, especially since you're dealing with something very similar, how did you accommodate, what were your cost points like, and how did you factor that into your planning?
So yeah, initially it might be a little tricky for you because what you really need to do is figure out how your infrastructure and is going to scale as the users increase. And initially, because you may not have metrics, it will be a little tricky. In our case, the great thing is that our transactions are really big transactions. So the infrastructure cost per transaction, so to speak, or even per user is minuscule compared to what we earn from the customer. So we didn't have to worry about that. But if you're being pushed by the market on a certain price, you really have to make sure that you are making money per unit, whatever that unit is, whether it's per user or whatever it is. So I think you learn over time, but you do need to do some kind of a capacity modeling, best possible with the best possible information. That's what I would say, because it should not happen that you start scaling up and you figure out that I can't really. So you can get into those kind of issues, and sometimes you can't avoid it. But if you can do a little bit of planning upfront, and then it's always easier to bring the prices down. But once you are down, bringing them up it causes a lot of customer grief. So try to start more conservatively on the pricing and then bring it down as volumes increase. That's what I would say.
Yeah, this is the most important point when you're starting any SaaS service or PaaS or any of the XaaS services on the web. It is important because he mentioned a very important point. You can bring the price down, but you cannot go up. The example he gave, like Piyush's company used Google Apps, right? So earlier they had 50 email accounts for free. And recently they decided to go down to 10 now. So now they've decreased the free accounts to 10. But they have to still maintain those old customers, which one of them I am, our company is a customer. They have to still give us free accounts for 50. Because a person who you brought him in at a certain price, and then you say that because he has done all his planning based on the price which you have given to him. Right? So the best way to solve it, okay, this problem is there, which we all agree is first have a private beta, get some matrices, get some information which you can extrapolate. Because information, one is your guesstimate and one is some hardcore evidence. So private beta is very important, where you invite your friends, your customers with whom you know, let them use your product, then do the metering, and then based on that do extrapolation. Even post that, have a freemium model if it works for you, because nobody can say that have a freemium model, but it works well because in a freemium model, there are certain free customers, what is their usage pattern, and that can help you then to define a basic price. So instead of defining very big pricing plans, start with smaller pricing plans, which you can then convert into bigger plans. So if you have made a $300 plan, which becomes a $500, it will be a big problem. But if you have a $10 plan, tomorrow it's becoming expensive. Then when you start with a $20 plan, but you still maintain this $10 plan, it's not such a big problem for you because you might lose $1 or $2 there. Can take it. So earlier in olden days, even in BFSI's banking, finance, security and insurance, right? In olden days, where do people keep money? They used to dig a hole in their house because they used to fear if they put it somewhere else. So they used to hide it somewhere, right? But today people give their money and put it in banks, right? They even put in more riskier instruments. In cloud computing, Salesforce is an example which was mentioned earlier. What is the closest thing one keeps to ourselves is the customer leads. And Salesforce became a flagship story in the SaaS world, where people are ready to put all their customer information with this thing. So it's a process. It's not going to happen day one. There are certain, it's not a silver bullet. Cloud or SaaS products are not a silver bullet. If it works more in the SME market, in smaller markets, bigger companies are also coming in, so security will be always an issue. But if you give it to an expert, what is the guarantee that you start your own data center, somebody won't hack it? Cloud providers or these people, they have a better technology information, they have better knowledge, they are better equipped. But it does not mean that banks don't get robbed, right? But they are better equipped to do that. Slowly, it is an awareness and adoption issue, right? Today for startups, it is inevitable. If we want to use an HRMS, we are not going to buy. If I want to use a CRM, I'm not going to buy a Siebel, right? I'm going to use Zoho or OpenCR, Sugar CRM or whatever. It's not just matter of choice. I want to be able to survive. SAP, one SAP might cost $1 million installation for you. We'll go and buy $1 million. You cannot. So it's just not a choice also for some people, right?
So as Siddharth says, right, this is like classic innovator's dilemma. And you will see that enthusiasts they already jumped onto cloud. And the pragmatic people are jumping right now. The dogmatic will take some time. And even the pragmatic people, right, so BFSI is extremely dogmatic, but even the small, large enterprises, right, they are also concerned about the security of the cloud. And one way, at least in our case, what we had to do to address those concerns were essentially security audit done by a auditing firm. And that's one thing we had to do to convince them that the processes that we follow are secure and the data is safe with us. Plus you can essentially talk about encryption, you can talk about no one else apart from the customer having access to their own data, right? And that is sufficient to at least get these customers who are in the enterprise range. Again, depends on so there again it all depends on which market you are targeting, right? And if you are targeting India market, the India market is extremely dogmatic. They are not going to take anything new that easily. So in our case also, and for everybody else here, the reason why the market is primarily outside India, US or Europe, is because those markets are fairly enthusiastic compared to Indian market. So my take is, it will first be adopted by US, then Europe, and then India will follow. India is very, very dogmatic market.
So simple answer to the question, use SecPanel. Jokes apart, I think it's inevitable that, as he said, the transition is going to happen. First it happened to third-party data centers, now it's going to happen to applications but I think also, I would say there has to be a caution, and you'll see in the coming months there'll be a lot of play in security, not just security as a service for products or services, whether cloud or non-cloud, but also security with the new technologies that we're using. There are discoveries and there are issues. So that's going to be there. That's inevitable. But things are going to move on. And talking about SMBs, my personal experience is that right, US is a much faster, much maturer market, but SMBs usually relatively move faster, than larger organizations, regardless of what segments they are in.
Today people are doing banking operations, right? How many people transfer money by going to the bank? In fact, the bank will charge you more if you go to their place, right? Earlier, nobody was ready to do. People are buying things on the net. How many people were buying, things from Flipkart type of companies earlier, 5 years down the line? Today, most of the people are buying it. So, but there'll be always certain companies. I mean, take even share trading. I mean, today people are doing it only on the net. But there will be certain companies where cloud might not fit, because they would like to keep it close. So the point is not to that there is a silver bullet that it will solve all our problems, right? Different strokes for different folks. So one should not push cloud down the throat. Also, even after being a cloud provider, I'm just putting a caution. It's not a silver bullet, right? It's for people who want to save capex, who does not want to keep that expertise of managing the cloud and leave it to some other person and focus on their business logic. But if that is your core product, then you better keep it with you, right?
Also, I think cloud also aggravates a security problem, which is like, for example, if you're trying to brood something, you can today get 100 Amazon instances and you have computing power at all. And also, last year or so, if you notice, incident after incident has probably not helped much, and probably raised that question much more, starting from people like MasterCard or Twitter, or even companies like GitHub, right, getting compromised. So there's got to be a balance here. And there's a different topic about my opinion about how people are approaching security today and all. But I think there's got to be balance in both things, and things will move. It's inevitable, because I think the economies are really too much in favor.
So I think we are out of time now. So thanks a lot, and have a great evening.